The behind the scenes is not pretty. It's like theater. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, just ignore the man behind the curtain. It's going to be great in the end, but obviously everything has to be taken down.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Everything is like literally like ratchet strapped in place because you do not want to lose these expensive pieces of equipment. Generators, figuring out how to run a generator. On my worst days, I would literally just be telling myself, you keep people alive. I was a critical care nurse. Like I can literally save your life. I can figure out how to change the oil in a generator. That's what I would tell myself mentally, because I would be so ready to sort of like tap out. Like just, I don't know this industry. Like,
Right.
I don't know electrical. I don't know plumbing.
But you have to.
But you better.
Yeah.
You got to get real humble and real quick, like accepting that you're going to just have to ask questions and probably feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Is that every like startup entrepreneur?
Yeah, but I mean, that's how you learn with everything. I mean, that's not just even business, that's just life. Welcome back to the Lead Lamp Podcast. This week, we have Meg from Character Coffee. So we're familiar with you because you've been to a couple tailgates that we were at as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, you make awesome coffee drinks, as we were talking before
Thanks.
we started. But thanks for coming on. We're interested to learn a little bit more about you. I know you said we're going to have some rabbit trails this morning, so I'm excited. We like rabbit trails. So
I love it. Well, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be with you guys this morning. Obviously, I love to talk about coffee and delicious, drink and food options. So yeah, I launched Character Coffee in 2021. And there were a couple of reasons that I actually wanted to start a food truck, coffee cart. One of those is honestly just the business part of it, is that in order to have a successful business, you really just need to know where the hole in the defense is. Like, who is not playing to a specific niche that is going to do well. And so I was living in Lancaster. I'm from Lancaster. Lancaster is a mega foodie scene. Are you from what area?
I'm from out near Shippensburg.
Okay.
The other way.
Okay. Do you make it into Lancaster?
No, anything like east of Hershey just like is automatically Philadelphia.
Okay.
Like it's an unknown land.
Okay, that's fair. But you should definitely road trip out there at some point. And so it is a mega foodie scene. And the food truck scene is just incredible out there. But in 2021, really, there was almost nobody doing high-end coffee. There was exactly one brick and mortar that had a coffee truck, but they were doing, basically an occasional wedding and things like that. And so I said to my husband, like, whoever does high-end coffee is going to kill it.
Mobily.
Yeah.
There weren't.
I decided to do it.
So there were no mobile high-end coffee shops. You still had like your local coffee shops.
Yeah, for sure. The brick and mortars were all in place and they are excellent. But there wasn't anybody really out there on a consistent basis showing up into this space with mobile coffee that was also high end. So for me, it was really important that it was like fair trade and organic. If I was going to do it, then I wanted to bring the quality that was really important to me. So like I make all of my own homemade brown butter caramel for the caramel cream lattes. We do Ghirardelli hot chocolates. Like it's just a super high end experience.
Step above. Yeah. You're not ripping open like the Swiss Miss and putting it in a cup. Yeah.
No, like hurts my heart now, honestly. And so, the concept really started in 2020. Obviously, we understand what happened during the pandemic. And I am a nurse. I've been in the healthcare industry for over 20 years. And so there was just kind of a space to be like, you know what? What else could I do that will kind of partner together and marry my love of food, coffee, serving people, being in connection and relationships, and also give me a sustainable outlet to stay in the nursing game well.
Yeah.
And I stay in it better because I don't do it all the time.
Right. You're not burning out with just nursing now.
Correct.
Okay.
I also at that point was like starting. So here's the first rabbit trail is like I was starting a mentorship for young nurses. And so I was like, wouldn't it be really cool if I had a coffee truck and I could take it onto college campuses and they could, grab a latte, cold brew, whatever, pop a squat out in the quad and like, let's talk.
Yeah.
And like, let's talk about what it looks like to do well in this industry. Let's talk about the transition from classroom to clinical setting. So that was kind of like where
it was like your icebreaker when you're going out to
100%
talk to these young nurses or aspiring nurses.
100%. And so I knew that while I was kind of waiting to optimize those opportunities within the nursing area, that at the same time I could just have a profitable business. Second rabbit trail is that my husband started a bottled beverage company, 12, 13 years ago. It's called Humankind. It is sold at a ton of our local high-end cafes. And so I had been working as the VP over marketing and public relations for the last 5 years. And so we actually became a full back-end distributor to cafes. So I understood the back end of this industry before I actually understood the front end, which is how to build out a cart, get it hitched to a truck, back that thing up into the right spot, pop your window and start serving coffee.
Yeah, there was other logistics other than what you see arriving at an event that you already knew.
Yes, exactly. And so that kind of took some of the scary out of it as well. So I was going to like Coffee Fest in New York and I was seeing what the need was, the demand was. I was seeing that coffee was obviously becoming a big thing that continues to just get it's a crazy industry, honestly.
I have a question, and this might not be related at all, but like, is there I feel like coffee consumption is continually like, if you had a graph, it's like hockey sticking where it just keeps going. But is there a point at which demand for coffee exceeds what the supply is? And like,
I think so. I was just talking about this.
I feel like
yesterday.
it doesn't ever it never goes down. Thankfully, like cigarette smoking is trending in a negative direction. Other things are, even I saw a thing like alcohol uses trending.
The mocktail scene is crazy right now. Yeah.
So you're seeing these things, but like coffee just keeps doing the opposite. So
it is like our American vice of choice.
Can't get rid of coffee. I can't either, but I always wonder, like, what's the threshold of supply for coffee?
I don't know. I think we're going to figure it out though, especially for the quantities that we drink. As much as people, I think, want to have like their home espresso machine and feel real bougie and feel like they're like connecting with
and it's affordable to do that now.
Roots. It is more affordable.
A couple $100. You don't have to go to Starbucks every morning or to a gourmet coffee shop. You can have your own Wiley's coffee shop in my kitchen.
Yes, it is true. And yet the American consumption of coffee far exceeds anything that we would see at like a European standard. So like even on my coffee truck, you cannot get a 32 ounce anything. I cap you off at 16 ounces because I'm like, that is not necessary.
It's too much. Yeah.
It's too much.
So in Europe, it's like a whole different scene.
What'd you say?
In Europe, it's a whole different ball game.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, you're not
even
really drinking coffee after like, I don't know, between 11 and 2 o'clock, like in the afternoon. Like that's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're here as like a second swell. It's like the post-lunch coffee.
No, it seriously is. Huh. The caffeine consumption is crazy. And then also even that, like not just with like mocktails, but also have you heard of Lotus drinks? I don't sell them on the coffee truck, but a lot of the other coffee trucks do. And they are caffeine refreshers kind of things that are like non-coffee, but still give you your caffeine boost.
No, I just stick with like, I'm boring. So I stick with just like black coffee.
No, I'm totally a black coffee drinker.
I don't like a lot of fancy stuff and I just want my black coffee.
Everybody comes up and they look at my menu and they're like, so what's your favorite? And I was like, okay, well, I drink black coffee, but I can like talk you through this whole menu and it's all delicious.
It doesn't mean I don't occasionally, I'll go get one that's just be like, I'll try something different. Yeah. I've done that with, your coffee truck, but if I had to choose, it's just a plain black coffee. So, all right. So now let's get back on the original story. You decide to make that jump in, the logistics, the back end and like the supply side even. And you had some marketing experience. So, with your husband's company. So you're like, let's jump into the coffee brand, the coffee side, the coffee truck. I'm sure there was some new things to you too with that, where you're like, I have no idea whether it's like backing the trailer up or doing whatever. So kind of walk through that, like acquiring the physical stuff now and building out the physical truck. Yeah.
So it was really helpful when I initially launched. I did have a partner come in initially. So for the first 9 months, and he was kind of the coffee guru on the front end. So he really helped as far as like creating the menu and sourcing all of the machines that we were going to need. But yeah, there was so much because when you are essentially doing glorified camping with bougie equipment that doesn't want to be bumping around in the back of a trailer.
I was going to say, PA roads aren't friendly to sensitive stuff like that. Yeah.
The amount of bungee cords, like I don't like when anybody sees me setting up. Like, don't open my door to the trailer while I'm setting up.
You leave the window closed while you're
exactly. It's not pretty. The behind the scenes is not pretty. It's like theater. You know what I mean? Like, just ignore the man behind the curtain. It's going to be great in the end, but obviously everything has to be taken down.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Everything is like literally like ratchet strapped in place because you do not want to lose these expensive pieces of equipment. Generators, figuring out how to run a generator. On my worst days, I would literally just be telling myself, you keep people alive. I was a critical care nurse. Like, I can literally save your life. I can figure out how to change the oil in a generator. That's what I would tell myself mentally, because I would be so ready to sort of like tap out. Like, just, I don't know this industry. Like,
right.
I don't know electrical. I don't know plumbing.
But you have to.
But you better.
Yeah.
You got to get real humble and real quick, like accepting that you're going to just have to ask questions and probably feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
Is that every like startup entrepreneur?
Yeah, but I mean, that's how you learn with everything. I mean, that's not just even business. That's just life. Like,
correct.
If you're going to buy a house, Cody just bought a house. But if you're going to listen up, Cody, if you're going to buy a house, like, it would be wise and beneficial to learn, like, how are you going to unclog your sink? How are you going to basic things? You don't always have to call a plumber, or you might be in a situation where you need to know right now. Yep. Just like with a food truck, you're like, I can't wait for someone to come out to help me with a plumbing issue. Like, we got a problem now.
Yeah.
So you got to get in there and figure it out. So
at least do like the critical thinking. So that way, you know, when my generators go off in the midst of serving, I can figure out like what just happened.
You can troubleshoot a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The other great thing is that honestly, the food truck industry is super supportive in so many ways. And so I have a lot of like food truck friends at this point that if I'm with any of them, or, you know, they're either going to take care of me because I'm at an event with them, or they are literally only a text away.
Yeah, you can shoot them a text like, I don't know what happened. Here's a picture of what's going on.
100%. And then they're like, okay, bring it over to me tomorrow. Like, I have some really great friends that have showed up in that space for me that I didn't know 4 years ago.
Nice. Yeah, we've talked to a couple food truck owners as well.
Yeah.
And just knowing them through events we've done, and like, they all know each other. And there's no like, even when a new one pops up, they're all like, there's less new ones now, but they all know each other. They're all on someone's radar.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm sure there becomes a little bit of rivalry as well.
I was going to say, sometimes there's still a little bit like of infighting, like any other kind of family.
It gets clicky. Like, you know.
It can.
You don't want 2 taco food trucks showing up and there's some like a turf war. I'm sure it's not that serious, but I picture like the Anchorman scene where they're like, the news teams are fighting. You ever seen Anchorman?
Like jostling for a position and things like that.
But it's not that bad, but it is nice to know that it's like a supportive community too. Because at the end of the day, like you said, it's like campers. You're just pulling in essentially with like a tow behind camper, and you got a kitchen in there.
Absolutely. And you know, 98% of the time, like, I'm doing my coffee truck by myself. Like, even for the events that I come here and do, a lot of times, you know, unless it's just like a massive event, I can turn out somewhere between 50 to 65 customers an hour. So that's kind of like where I know that I can just hit that by myself and manage it. But on really big event days, even if I feel like I'm managing it myself perfectly fine, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to get out of the truck to actually grab food. So that's the other thing. Like, even my food truck friends will be like, we got you. We see you, and you text us when you're ready for a burger, and we'll like run somebody down with a burger for you.
Nice. Yeah.
I love that. Like, that's so great.
It is a neat community that I think really changed in the last 4 years. Like, pre-COVID, and I don't want to bring up COVID constantly, but pre-COVID, like pre-2020, you saw a couple of them. There was some of the big ones were still out there. They're still in existence, but like the variety wasn't there. Now there's like, you name the food, there's probably a food truck within 100 miles of you that does that. Absolutely. And we're really lucky in this area because there is so much that's being offered and the quality is there. Yeah, man, I could just like all the ones that are coming to the top of my mind right now, but also that there's a space that's also starting to get saturated in certain locations like Lancaster. So where I was the second coffee truck 4 years ago, you want to take a guess at how many coffee trucks there are today in Lancaster? 8. Cody, what do you think? Can I holler at him across the room?
Oh, man. 12.
22.
And that's like within like a 30-minute circle, or just like concentrated Lancaster? Huh. Okay. I
so
see
if
that,
you're listening to this podcast, don't start a coffee truck in Lancaster.
I think I don't want to keep going off the route of character coffee, but like, do you think that it's going to be an industry that's similar to like what you see with what's happening, unfortunately, with like the microbrewing industry, where you saw a big ramp and now there's like an oversaturation, and then it's not good. I don't want to see businesses go out, but like there can only be so many microbreweries. There's only so much that you can do in an area. And that's with any business. Like something becomes popular, there's a big ramp up, and then a decade later, you still got your OGs that are out there doing the same thing, and kind of the part-timers or people that weren't as invested kind of fall off with it.
I was just going to say though, I think honestly, the part-timers are the ones that might make it. Because like for me, because I'm still in the nursing industry as well, the times that the coffee truck hasn't done well because of that human
you have
variable,
something to fall back on.
Correct.
Yeah.
So in some regards, as long as the business can at least pay her own bills, that's what I always say. Character Coffee, CC's got to cover her own bills, right? Like she can't just be freeloading over here. But if she's covering her bills and that's like the worst that I'm doing with the business, then I still feel like I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Would I like to take a paycheck? Would I like to not work for free? Of course.
Right.
But I think that because...
But if you can hover that net neutral, if it's a bad month or two, if you can hover and kind of zero out, it's way better than like just keep, plummeting.
Absolutely. Because this year has been way different than the other 3 years. And we've heard that because of the economy and the prices of everything going up and whatnot. That's not inaccurate. And also this is a product, right? So when you're talking about a business that is a skill, you can keep increasing the price of that.
Service-based is a lot different than not retail, but like you said, product-based industry.
Absolutely. Like at some point, no matter how delicious this cup of coffee,
there's a max.
Are you going to spend $9 for a cup of coffee?
Right.
I'm not. And as it already is, like I don't charge additional for alternative milks. Like it's organic and fair trade coffee. This is not Folgers that I'm giving you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a quality cup of coffee. Yeah. But you're still going to hit a ceiling.
We literally just talked about this with Good Life, where they were saying the ice cream truck, Good Life ice cream. They were saying the same deal. Like at what point are people going to be like, I'm not paying $12 for a scoop of ice cream? Like that's crazy.
I know.
So they, and people are price conditioned. So they know like on every product, you could do it with, you name a product. You could pretty much, if I shot out a product right now, like, okay, a gallon of gas, what are you willing to pay comfortably? You're like, $3.50, $3.60. It's going to get up there. It gets uncomfortable. Like a gallon of milk, I don't know, $3.50 to $4. And after that, I'm not paying.
It's over $5.
Yeah.
Do you know I spend like $20 for ice?
Yeah. I didn't, but I see it.
For a bag of ice costs, a 20-pound bag of ice is almost $5.
Yeah, I was gonna say $5 or $6.
Yeah, so for just like a basic $20.
So
ice?
People are all price conditioned.
Yeah.
In the product and retail side, where in their heads they start. There's a gauge in which this is now a crazy price. It starts a red line.
And maybe I'm willing to make that splurge occasionally, but I'm not going to make the splurge all the time. So let's like loop it right back. So I'd rather just spend, a couple $100 and put a fancier coffee maker in my own kitchen.
Yeah.
And know that, maybe on the weekends I'll go out on a coffee date and splurge, but this is not becoming a daily.
Right.
And I think what you're even asking in this industry, the other hard part is that, the plight of every small business owner is that you always have the big guy who's willing to go play in the minor leagues.
Right.
So now you've got Dunkin' Donuts coming out with
a mobile
trucks. Yeah.
Huh, I didn't see that yet.
Sure do. There's franchises, one called Traveling Toms. Not trying to like hate on anybody, but there are places where small business owners are like, come on, like let us have.
And I think, so there's two parts to that. One is the negative, is those companies are always going to be willing to go race to the bottom. So that it's just like the Amazon story. So in a previous life, we were selling products in an HVAC world on Amazon. And initially we were the only people selling it. And then
this was your former life?
Yeah. At a different job.
Yeah.
And Amazon then caught on that it was a popular product. And all of a sudden now Amazon's selling it, but they're buying them by the warehouse at a time. So they can sell them. They can make 2 cents per product. And we could not do that. So you have to stop selling on Amazon. But it's the same with that. Like, some of those companies will gladly race you to the bottom just to sniff out competition.
Yeah.
So that's a negative with that. But I think the positive with that is if I had a choice, or if a lot of consumers had a choice with those types of products, like a food truck or a food service, I would rather go to a local food truck. Like if I'm at a football game and I see your food truck and I see a Dunkin' truck, but it's comparable pricing, you know, hopefully it's fair. I would rather go to the local place because, you know, it's more unique to me. So not everyone thinks that way, but
I think that there are a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
But still, even when you're talking about,
it's painful as a small business owner when you see it and you're like, kind of like you said, like, can we just have this one? Give us that space.
Yeah. And especially I think depending on what the space is. So like say, you know, for a lot of us going into like the schools, like PTOs will book us to go treat their teachers. Sure, they would love to probably go with a small owned company. But the reality is too that Dunkin' Donuts can probably also undercut us so that the PTO is like, well, at least they're going to get like coffee and they're going to still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But we're also going to have to pay way less than what my price point is. But you're going to have this in every industry forever and ever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We could be sitting here in 200 years having the exact same conversation.
And the nice thing is where you guys have the advantage, your size business, is you can move quicker to the next thing. So like when you see, it took 3 years or whatever, 4 years for Dunkin' and he's at Tom's, was it Traveling Tom's?
Yeah.
It took a couple years for them to see, hey, like there's an opportunity here. Let's move. And then that's a big boat that they got to turn to get into a different thing. With businesses your size, it's probably more fun too, because you could say like, okay, well, we're kind of getting pinched out here, but we could do that now. And it takes them so long to turn into that new thing that they're, instead of you chasing them for price, they're always chasing smaller businesses for that next niche.
Yeah.
So like you're carving out new avenues that they can't go into as quick. So there is advantages with that too.
And I hope that honestly where like personally I also exceed is in the relationship space. You know, I hope that I've built up enough relationship that somebody who has worked with me says, I want to work with her again. And maybe she's not the cheapest coffee out there, but she's delicious and she's easy to work with.
And you're friendly when you're at the events.
Exactly. Like there's a whole experience.
And we know who we're getting when we hire your food truck, Character Coffee, or we're any of these other local ones, versus when Dunkin's doing it.
Yeah.
Next time they come, well, we're not getting that same friendly crew. Yeah. Because they quit or they move, whatever, you know, it's a revolving door. You know, you as well as other local business owners, like you're getting me. Like that's, my coffee's great, but you're also getting me. And you know, I'm friendly to your customers or your employees as well. So,
which is literally why I own one coffee truck.
Yeah.
And not two or three. Exactly. Because I'm so concerned. I mean, people always say, well, then why don't you grow this? And the reality is too, that even as business owners or, you know, entrepreneur, you know, minds, you can do something that you love and just do it well. And that can be enough. It doesn't have to always be about the scalability of it. Like just because even the opportunity is there, you don't have to take it.
It could be a passion project and you just, that's what it stays. And it can make some money and
that's good.
And, but it's not a huge weight on you then. You know, there's still some pressure. You got to keep a business open, but it's not like, like next step. What's the next step constantly? So there's always that stress though, but
there is, but again, when it is not the thing that is maybe like putting the food on the table and yet at the same time that you can also ramp it up if you need to. Like if I really needed additional sales, well, you just see me like sitting outside of Verber Dental and Lee Lamp all the time serving you guys coffee.
Guys want to buy some coffee again? No. So let's get back into the brand. So like, how did you create the brand? What, like the name, any kind of cool stories with like actual launch? So Character
really can't, I mean, I love alliteration. So Character Coffee just works for me immediately. But this idea that we are all kind of in this real life on stage setting and we are all going to be interacting with one another. And I know that we immediately think that we want to be like the main characters of our own story, which is accurate in so many ways. But also those interactions that can happen in just 3 minutes over a cup of coffee can totally change the trajectory of your whole day. You're just like walking out and you got a smile on your face, or man, I just like needed this moment, or this barista like just connected with me. Like that human connection is a really beautiful part of
Mm-hmm.
the Character Coffee story.
And it's such a simple thing to talk to someone over a cup of coffee.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've had meetings with just people I meet in business or whatever, and they're like inviting you to get coffee or do whatever. And it's just a simple act.
Yeah.
You know, even a gourmet coffee that's a little bit fancier than just my favorite black coffee.
Yeah.
Whatever, it costs you $6, $7. It's expensive in coffee terms, but in reality, it's still cheaper than a dinner or whatever. And it's such a basic conversation starter. It's almost like sitting around a fire.
Yeah.
Like the primitive, like congregational place was sitting around a fire back in the Stone Age. But like, it's similar to that now. It's people have their conversations there. They talk in the morning while they're drinking their coffee, getting ready for work or whatever it is. So it kind of is a common bond.
Absolutely. And I love that you said like years ago, even like this really is kind of just part of our human nature is to sit together at a table, whether that's dinner or a cup of coffee. You know, that's where church has been done. That's where some like real life has been lived. And I love that. I love anything that can kind of move somebody from a stranger into a friend. And the faster that I can do that, the happier I am, honestly.
Yeah. That's amazing. And now that I've equated it to like sitting around a campfire, like the Stone Age, I keep thinking of like, I don't know. It's drawing me into this like vision of like these cavemen like holding these modern day coffee cups around like a fire.
I love it. I feel like we need this.
we can get AI to probably whip that up, a picture like that really
before we're
quick.
out of here, honestly.
We'll do it. So you have your business. I know you said your husband has his too. It was Humankind.
Yep.
I want to talk about what you told us before you started recording here, before sort of started the podcast. You guys do also some nonprofit work too. So let's dig into that, because that's always just a heartwarming thing to talk about.
Yeah. So this is also like how my husband and I like connected and all the things. So he was a youth pastor by trade. So he had literally no business background. He had graduated from Syracuse with a degree in sportscasting. And that was like his full-blown trajectory. He is a lover of sports, especially Philadelphia sports. Go Eagles.
We won't hold that against him.
Oh no.
I like Washington teams, but
okay, that's fine. That's acceptable. If you were going to say Cowboys, I was going to be like, I'm out of here.
I should say, except for football. I am a Cowboys fan for football, but I'm passive. Like, I don't care if they're good or bad. I'm like that kind of.
Okay.
I'm a huge college ball.
Yeah.
I will watch college football from noon till 11 o'clock at night. I don't care who's playing. I'll watch it.
Okay. I got
like NFL football.
You don't care.
I barely watch it.
Okay. This is why we're gonna be okay.
We're good.
We're all right, guys. Don't worry. So he literally, graduated Syracuse, was on this full-blown trajectory to go do sports broadcasting. He would have been awesome at it. And honestly, it's a God story. God like spoke to his heart and he decided that he needed to go get his master's in divinity. And so he did. And so he became a youth pastor and ended up working in the church. And this is all pre-Meg. And one time he was sitting in an early morning, devotional prayer time and was just like, God, I feel like I need to do something to help get people access to clean drinking water. So there is an organization out there called Compassion International. Have you ever heard it? It's like a child sponsorship thing.
No, I'm not familiar, but
it happens. A lot of musicians tend to add it on to their, like Christian musicians would add it on to like their tour schedule, and then they go and they actually are ending up in these developing countries. And you can like sponsor a child and basically help fund them through their schooling and any medical needs and, making sure that they've got like proper nutrition and things like that. It's just a beautiful thing. And so my husband had traveled with them and saw what it looks like in a community when you don't have access to clean drinking water. And so in the midst of this prayer time, which like I said, is like 2010, 2011, just really felt called to start a bottled water company and donate 100% of the net profits to clean water projects. Now, for everybody who's listening in this room or otherwise, don't start a bottled water company. The chances that you will survive is less than 1%. And this was truly...
Is this when we talk about like big water?
like these small companies called like Coke and Pepsi. I don't know if you've heard of them, but Actually, they haven't really been the biggest challenge, but just in general, like the bottled beverage industry is cutthroat. It's completely saturated. Cody's like, yeah, obviously, right? Like just every time you turn around, somebody's launching a new cool thing.
Yeah.
But honestly, their staying power is hard.
Okay.
Because for all the reasons that we're talking about, at some point you're going to hit market saturation. And so 93% of bottled beverage companies that launch will close down within the first year.
Oh, wow.
And so if you're only doing spring water and then you're just giving away the profits, sustainability is going to be really hard. We were really lucky. Like, so this is why you've got to have him on for his whole like humankind episode. But basically, he didn't know what he was doing. He has just enough confidence to say, I'd rather try and fail and know that than never have tried and always wondered.
Gotcha.
And so they launched the first bottle. And 4 months after the first bottle comes off the production line, Walmart has a contest called Get It on the Shelf. Chance for a little guy to get into big corporate America. 4,300 products entered and humankind won.
Wow.
It's a God story. So we went from one ghetto vitamin shop in the middle of like inner city Philly that was never going to do well, selling a bottle of high-end spring water, to the biggest national retailer. Now listen,
Was that like a guaranteed order then? Like
you had staying power for 1 year.
Okay.
And so they would help you basically scale up and do all of the things. There are mega challenges to every, like, I know you're like, that's amazing. And I'm like, it's amazing, but also like,
now you have to think
hard.
about, now you have a supply, you have to supply for this order now. Yeah.
And you're like a team of one.
Right.
And you don't have DSD, where Coke and Pepsi like send their guys in and they make sure that all the bottles are lined up in the correct, area, and that somebody is.
You mean in the stores?
Correct.
Yeah.
Like somebody is paid to make sure to care about what that looks like. Like sometimes our bottles of water would be like in the baby food section or like something like somewhere that you just really wouldn't find it.
Yeah.
This is not a slam on Walmart at all because we're grateful for the opportunity. But
no, but those other brands have, and you see them when you go to the grocery store, like the Coke guy or the Pepsi guy or the, I don't know, Frito-Lay guy, they're all working on their sections.
Absolutely.
And they're kind of double checking what the stock team does.
Independently of that store.
Right. And Giant or Walmart or all those companies let them in to take care of that. But like you said, they're giving you the shelf space, but like there's the quality control. They're not necessarily even equipped to handle that for every brand they have. So like some of that's on you guys, but you're a shop of two.
Yeah.
So
enter in Meg starting to like date TJ in the midst of all of this. We ran around to so many Walmarts early in our dating relationship. It was just like, wow. Pinch
so romantic.
Yeah. Like, let's get a Walmart and like check and see what the water looks like.
You should have like a map. You should have made a map where you had like put a pin for every Walmart you went to.
I wish we would have. Because the amount of Walmarts that I traveled to with this guy, that's just like how you know it's like true love when you're like, yeah, no, I totally want to do this. And my personal like piece of that story was that I was a critical care nurse at the time and I was going to Haiti and I was leading medical teams and I ended up on the front lines of a cholera outbreak and I was watching people die within 24 hours because they didn't have access to clean drinking water.
So you saw it firsthand. Yeah.
Absolutely. And honestly, I was yelling at God. I was mad. Like there's nothing more frustrating than feeling like you're watching an injustice that in modern day society, I mean, I have seen my fair share of people die and every one of them is sad on some level. But when you are watching somebody who just doesn't have access to clean drinking water.
Something that we feel is so simple.
Right.
Yeah.
A basic human right.
Well, and we take for granted how easily we get clean drinking water. We don't even think about it. It's not a thing. Like you don't wake up in the morning and be like, oh, hopefully my water's clean. It just happens.
Exactly.
So other places where you saw, like they have the opposite. Like they are praying that the water they drink isn't going to take them out. So
it was a life-changing experience for me. I always say like it wrecked my life in good ways, but in hard ways. You can't see it and then go back to just living your normal life and act like it didn't matter. But I didn't know what the word infrastructure meant. I didn't know how to get people access to clean drinking water.
Yeah.
But here's this guy sitting across from me who's like, well, I don't know either, but we're going to like figure it out.
He was building the plane in the air. Yeah.
That's what I say all the time. I was like, I feel like I prayed the prayer and then I meet him and he has like the answer. Just like a crazy little mashup. And so at any rate, we start dating and
traveling to Walmarts and
we're traveling to Walmarts, falling in love. And we start dating and I'm a girl from Lancaster County. There's this little company called Turkey Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to church with the Fry family, who are the founders, and the CEO at the time, who is not any longer. And so my husband went and honestly made a pitch to the Turkey Hill team. And a lot of the family still works at Turkey Hill, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the youngest son loved what we were doing so much that he left the family business 8 years ago. As like a 28-year-old, you should put him on this like podcast too, honestly, and jumped in with both feet to Humankind and became our president.
Wow. And
so we launched a whole line of organic teas and lemonades. We became the full back-end distributor that we talk about. And today we have like over, 600 rooftops and multiple distributors.
Wow.
And our team runs, 250 miles, like circumference, and it's awesome. And so we've gotten to date the nonprofit, the reason we started talking about this. So we take a portion of our sales and it goes to these clean water projects. Mm-hmm. The associated 501c3, our nonprofit, is called Kind Human.
Okay.
Humankind, Kind Human. And then we've got partners on the ground in Uganda, Africa, India, Laos, Dominican Republic. And they're just doing it well. And they are doing it sustainably, and they are using the local community to do the work, to have the buy-in, to have the ownership. It is not a white person running to the rescue.
So what are if you don't mind me asking, so you're selling the product here domestically, profits go through the 501c3.
Yeah.
They're delivered to kind of your satellite team in these other countries.
Yep, other organizations.
And then what are they doing with so I understand they get their funding, they get their help.
Yep.
But what does that go towards for them?
Wells.
Okay.
A lot of times there are wells that are in place, but they've become defunct. So they're no longer functioning.
They need work.
Exactly. In the 70s, the Peace Corps was like great at going and like drilling wells everywhere. But if there's not maintenance, correct. And so basically they're going out and they are rehabbing wells that are in needy communities. And there are other times that we do bucket filtration systems. So even if you're in some of these countries, this is like more than what you ever wanted to know about water filtration. But if you're in some of these countries like the Dominican Republic or Haiti, these Caribbean islands are just basically like a floating porous mass. So even if you tap into the groundwater, there's not been a natural filtration process because
there's still pollutants underground.
Exactly.
Okay.
So now you're going to do an additional step, which is a bucket filter, which is going to take everything down to like 0.04 microns. Somebody can, it's like, your tiny little towns that you're building. You probably understand.
Not that small, but so that you're adding filtration, and that, I'm guessing that can be used for above ground water or.
Exactly. It doesn't really matter what it is at that point, but it will get the majority of like pathogens, viruses, and like that kind of thing out of it, so that there is sustainable water that people aren't going to keep getting sick. And
they don't have to worry about a store of chemicals to treat the water. They're doing it through a mechanical filter.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So that is kind of like, man, that's a lot about Megan Character Coffee and how she got.
No, that's like a really roundabout path. So then
pretty awesome.
That was pre-Character Coffee though. Like that was
all pre. I mean, it still exists today. I don't have a role within the company, like a title, the way that I used to. Because life got crazy.
But you were a nurse the whole way through all this too.
The whole way through.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. That's amazing. I do now want to do the Humankind podcast now.
I really think you have to have TJ.
That could be a whole another hour of just.
You'll enjoy him. Obviously.
That story.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So what are your plans? Obviously you talked about you're comfortable not scaling, but what is the fun part of Character Coffee that you see coming up or changes? Is it seasonal? Like, can you do I'm sure you have creative freedom with your menu. So do you do some seasonal drinks now that it's kind of the holiday season? You got Christmas coming up. Talk about that a little bit.
It does tend to be seasonal for me. So there's obviously, anytime you launch a business, there's hindsight is 2020, right? There are things that I would do differently. If anybody has been to Character Coffee, you know that I pop a big old window open And then like basically a whole wall of my trailer is just exposed to the outside. So when it becomes 30 degrees and less outside, there's no way to trap the heat inside.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you don't have like the plexi sliding window.
So if you are going to launch a truck of any kind, just make sure that you have a closing window.
It wouldn't even work to put a heater in it, I'm sure, because like it's all just gonna
I mean, like
escape.
I try, but like, yeah, exactly. People come up and they're like, do you have heat in there? And I'm like, do you see this big like
I think I'm not sure. I think I'm heating the outside.
I'm positive I am. So she does typically run seasonally from like March till about mid-December. And then I give myself obviously the holidays to enjoy, the bougie equipment, hopefully it will not freeze over during January and February. I do go out sometimes predominantly for private events. That's about the only thing that will bring me out of hibernation. But otherwise, like what's next for character? She probably is going to just hold steady at this point. She's doing great. I average somewhere around like 68 events a year. So that's pretty awesome.
More than one a week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're March to December.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I'm busy with her and nobody knows this yet, but I'll tell you guys, I wrote a book and I'm launching it next month. So that is going to become a little bit more of the immediate focus. And so again, character is going to do what character has always done, which is to show up and show up well. And that's probably, again, there's not going to be like a second or a third. Right. Not right now. It's definitely not.
No, that's good. But like you said, it's always there if you need it to.
It's always there. And I love
just keep it the way it is. I also love, before we wrap up, I love that you refer to it as she. Like you see, it's like its own, it's become its own
just
character.
Two hardworking girls.
That's amazing.
Me, CC, and the truck is Flame.
Oh, okay.
Because she's hot. Even though she's white. But yeah.
Well, white hot. It's like, that is a thing.
Hot. I never even thought of it like that.
Like that's like the hottest, like it goes like orange, yellow, orange, and then blue. And then I think like white, that's the hottest.
We have like this underlying like fire theme going on today, sitting around the campfire.
I know. We'll have to make Cody's going to whip up cover art that's like AI
Cody.
generated
Let's
with caveman holding coffee cups.
He's like nodding so emphatically right now. He's on it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for having
me. I need to have like a part 2 where we talk about humankind, and I feel like that's going to unravel. That's going to be a long episode.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you coming in. Like I said, you have awesome drinks. I think the last time I ordered a drink when you were at this tailgate was we had just gotten. Did you have one that was Fox and the Hound themed?
Yes. How do you remember that?
Well, this is a crazy story. So like that week we had adopted a puppy and we named him Copper, which is
yes, of course.
Which is the fox from the Fox and the Hound.
Right.
And it was like a couple days later, I'm like, oh, there's a Fox and the Hound drink. I got a dog that we named after the character from Fox and the Hound. I was like, I got to get that drink.
It was like meant to be.
Yeah.
Everything had just lined up in your world.
Perfect.
It's pretty impressive that you remember what it was called.
Was it what was the drink?
The Fox and the Hound. Yeah, maple and vanilla.
Yeah. I was like, I have to get it. So there we go. That was the one time I didn't get a black coffee.
I was just going to say, you kind of strayed outside of your norm.
It was calling to me.
Was it all right?
It was good.
Okay, I was going to say, I shouldn't really put you on the spot, but.
It was good. Like I said, I'm not a sweet coffee
I'm not
drinker,
either.
But it was good. It was good.
Well, listen, I will try to send coffee with my husband next time.
Okay.
I'll make it up to you guys because I forgot this time.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll send Kara the info because she can get our order and you just send coffee.
Perfect. I'll make sure to do that. Thanks again for having me.
Awesome. Thank you very much.